Hey, howdy, happy campers, Max here. Just before we get started today, I want to remind you, everyone, that today's episode is an excerpt from myself and Connor's, aka Click's, Twitch stream podcast, Multimedia Madness. There we talk about movies, comics, video games, and just pop culture news in general. So if you want to talk to us live and catch those live in general, you can follow us at maximumhr_live and click live respectively on twitch.tv. The live streams will be completely uncut and allow you to participate in an exclusive Q&A section, which won't be included in the main video. So make sure you follow us on Twitch, like, share, and subscribe, and otherwise enjoy the video.
Look, why don't we kick things off? Connor, what's your news? Do you have any news for today?
No. Well, I wasn't told I had to come with news, so I didn't look at anything.
I didn't tell you about the news, to be fair. I thought you might, I thought you might know something. What's happening in your local area? Anything?
No.
Why don't you take us away? What are we talking about?
Well, yeah, so last episode we talked about Black Adam, and we moved from one universe of superheroes to another in the span of, what was it, a few days between releases for these two movies, Black Adam and the one we're going to talk about, which is
It was
Black
about
Panther, about a week. Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, came out about a week after Black Adam. Very good timing. I think there was something else coming out the week after as well, which is insane.
Yeah, no.
The movie itself was, I think it was nearly, was it 3 hours or over 3 hours?
No, I think it's only like 2.5 hours. It's not 3 hours long. No way.
It was close to 3. 2 hours 40.
Okay, yeah. So it's close to 3, but it's not 3.
Yeah.
If it was 3 hours, no one would shut up about how it's 3 hours long. It would be a whole fucking nightmare of shit.
Yeah.
Um,
I think we can go into just the bare bones kind of thoughts we have for it. And my kind of bare bones thoughts is I really enjoyed it.
yeah, right.
I
Look,
felt my expectation before was that my thinking was I want them to show something of Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa and not just kind of
ignore it. Yeah.
ignore it. And I think the way they did it, I really like the way they did it, for me personally. I think basically I decently like Namor. It didn't feel nearly 3 hours to me. As a time length, probably it kind of felt a lot closer to 2 hours than it did to 3 hours. And I overall enjoyed it. I think just very early on, kind of comparison with Black Adam, because I don't see that many movies. I think I prefer it to Black Adam, as I feel like there's more story that drives this movie than Black Adam, and I think the story in this is a really driving force, and I think is a good story for the way it goes about. But what's your thoughts, Max, about it?
I think I have similar thoughts. Like, I was a really big fan of the movie in general. I think, like, oh, for fuck's sake, I'm having trouble setting up the webcam real quick. Look, yeah, I think I'd have some similar thoughts there. I guess for me, I really did feel personally it's runtime. Like, I was very aware of how long it was, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'm just like, I guess I can't say like, oh, it flew by for me, but like, I didn't really expect it to. I think just the kind of story it was with how much is going on. I guess my overall thoughts is that a lot of it I feel was like, you could, I feel like it was a pretty good film overall with just some excellent moments and a lot of bits you could probably cut out generally. I think in terms of we touch a bit more on these in the spoiler section on like how much in terms of like the tribute to Chadwick Boseman. But I think in terms of what it was, it's a very overall the film is a big theme of like loss and grieving and like mourning, and I think it covers its subject matter with reverence and very effectively. I think that it's I think for what it's trying to do, it does so very effectively. I think it gives a very touching sort of tribute to Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa without simply just kind of writing him off. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think just sort of things like that. I suppose. I guess elevate it to a higher status. I guess in comparison to Black Adam, I would say I definitely do enjoy more of the black themed superhero movies of this year. Look, one of the I don't know. I guess obviously the one is just a superior movie, but I'm gonna try and judge of its own merits today rather than compare it to Black Adam. I guess is the gist of things. But I think as well, I really enjoyed Namor, as he said in the movie. I think they make a lot of changes from the comics, which we'll touch on. But I think in terms of his personality, he's very spot on. He's very effective character and sort of antagonist for the film itself. Look, overall, I did thoroughly enjoy it. I think I liked going to an MCU movie and finding them take themselves seriously, and I say that in the way that I mean, not to say that's overly serious and it doesn't have any jokes, because it does. It does have some jokes, and they're good jokes. They're funny, and they're well paced and everything. It's just that I like that. I feel like it matters, I suppose, if that makes sense, like in the wider universe, where it's not like I don't know. I feel like this is not that it needed to happen, but it sort of justified its existence and its place in the wider universe. Which I guess I'll be able to expand upon more. But I guess I'll let Connor sort of take us into the spoiler section. I guess give us a basic summary of the plot. It's your turn.
Fine. Basic summary is basically you open the film up with T'Challa's death. You then go, was it 6 months or 12 months?
I think it was...
I feel like it was 12.
Yeah, I think it might have been 12.
I feel like it was a year.
Yeah,
you have a time jump forward, so Wakanda's progress forward. It's Queen Ramonda.
Yep.
As the new kind of
leader
royalty,
of the country.
Royal leader of the country. There's Wakanda against kind of the outworlds still there by joining together. You then have the first introduction during the start of it with it's not Atlanteans. They're not. They're kind of what they gave the race of them to be called. But Namor's people.
Talokan. Their city is called Talokan. So.
Thank you.
I don't know what you would call the people of that, but
yeah,
I'd take that as you will.
Normally it would be like Atlanteans. I'm pretty sure it's the comic.
Yeah, so they did have the Atlanteans in the comics. It's just that, obviously Aquaman has come out, so they have to sort of change it up a little bit, which sucks. I feel like they didn't need to, but I understand why they did. And I think that the change is good enough.
I agree. You don't need to, but it's an understandable change. So you then have a lot of conflicts between the Outworld and Wakanda. You have Namor introducing himself to Shuri and Ramonda when they were going to bury their clothes for the funeral, which is apparently it's a Wakandan tradition. And that basically introduces you to Ironheart, who I don't know what her actual name is. I just know as Ironheart.
So her name was Riri Williams, but her actress's name is Dominique Thorne, if you were wondering.
They're basically the introduction of Riri and Shuri becomes a bigger part of it. Shuri goes to the capital after being taken. Then Ramonda sends in T'Challa's girlfriend, who was a main Wakandan spy to grab Shuri again, which starts the big brawl, which ends up having Ramonda die, saving Ray Ray.
Yep. Riri, by the way.
Riri. I'll get there eventually. I'll get there at the end. which then gets the massive thing where Shuri becomes Black Panther after seeing Killmonger in the spirit thing.
Yep.
Then there's the big fight between the two nations, and
But I probably should have mentioned spoilers, by the way.
you did say no, you said at the start that I would lead into the spoiler section.
I did say that. You know what? It's their fault. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What was that? Big battle. Then it's Namor against Shuri's Black Panther. Shuri wins but doesn't kill Namor, which was a big, I think, part at the end. Just based off Killmonger's appearance and the way Shuri's character was going at the end. It ends up ending the fight, and Wakanda goes back, and it wasn't Shuri that's taking the throne. It seemed like it was the M'Baku. Is that the right name?
Yeah, M'Baku.
M'Baku kind of was positioning himself more towards the throne, and then you get to see the Namor and Black Panther kind of painting or mosaic. I don't know what type of style that's called.
That'd be a
You'll
mural.
know because you're mural.
Yeah.
The mural showing the Black Panther and Namor. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's basically
It's not a quick summary, but it's a summary.
that is basically the sort of summary of the film events. Yeah, I think it's safe to say a lot happens in Wakanda Forever, but being fair, it is sort of like it had a lot of ground to cover.
It feels like a very big kind of stepping stone.
What I think was like very surprising, I guess, but also handled super well. Like this could have been like so poorly done, but the way they handled it was so well. T'Challa's death was they pretty much similarly mimicked Chadwick Boseman's death. In I guess as we're aware, I believe it was 2020 or 2019. Chadwick Boseman passed away from cancer. Which so obviously that to a minor degree set back the I guess the filming of the script writing and filming of the sequel, but to a more major extent I guess sort of threw into it sort of threw everything out of whack in general, just because of like wow, no, like this our main actor and like this person that we've all this actual like icon, the first on-screen Black Panther, has just suddenly passed away, tragically young. And I think the general gist of the film is, given its mourning, I think it's trying to do a very similar thing of like, Shuri is supposed to be, partially I think representative of, I suppose, the wider audience and their feelings towards the I guess the passing of Chadwick. And so I think it handles that especially well. I think in terms of his connection to his family, there's that kind of conflicting thing of she's kind of almost angry at T'Challa because he didn't tell her about this illness until it was too late for her to save him. But at the same time, she also kind of blames herself because she's supposed to be this genius, the top scientist in Wakanda, even as young as she is, and she feels like she sort of failed him, I guess, which I suppose mimics a lot of the feelings that a lot of people, I guess generally people would have when they are mourning for anybody, but as well I guess the sort of family and audience would feel, I guess, if they were mourning for T'Challa themselves. And I think it does a great job of the rebounding, or more so the consequences surrounding that death, because they have to acknowledge in the film that like this isn't just any death, like this isn't just like my brother or my son who's passed away. This is the king of a sovereign nation is now dead. A sovereign nation that has just now revealed itself to the public, an incredibly powerful one with a incredibly rare resource that everybody in the world wants, and their main protector is dead and gone. What does this mean for the socio-political state of the world? in a literal state, and I think just the way that it sort of I guess presents that to me was very realistic and very mature and very it took into into account the feelings of everybody involved, and I'll say that it more than any other MCU movie of late, I feel like this one was made just because like someone had a passion for it. Ryan Coogler, the director, had a passion for it and had something they wanted to say, and like this was only made because they really wanted to make this film. Everybody involved wanted to sort of honor Chadwick Boseman in some way, because he very easily could have just like not had a second Black Panther film, really. But I guess it could have so easily been cancelled. But I guess like on the one hand, I think a lot of us were worried. I was at least about what are they going to do without Chadwick? Are they going to be respectful to the role since he's passed away? But I think for my personal sake at least, I think they did a very good job, and those concerns were put to rest. I'm thinking, okay, no, I'm very happy with what they sort of did in that regard. I think it was just it's a very powerful and very I suppose it's hard to sort of think of the right words, I guess, to like that I haven't really already said, but no, I just think they did a very good and respectful job of honoring Chadwick's legacy. I think they tied it very well into the film itself, and I don't know. I guess what would you say about that?
Yeah, I think I remember saying this to you back when, probably now a year ago or something, saying because I remember when he died, because Wakanda Forever was announced before he passed, I think, or there were rumblings and there were plans for a second.
Black Panther 2 was at the very least in production. Like, at least they would write the script before he passed away.
And I also remember the kind of community at the time were thinking that he was going to be like the next Iron Man kind of figure, so the next like building block character, which made it so much more impactful, I think, as for the MCU fans, where they're like, oh, not only did we lose what was a great human being and a human being nonetheless, we lost kind of the person that our like joy, our kind of escape from reality was going to build around. And I was a person that going through, I was like, I want them to show something for him, because in my mind, if you do not, if they didn't show him,
if you don't address it,
then you have just hurt the entire thing for me. It's like, especially because it wouldn't be that bad if he was a minor character to me, but because he was the Black Panther, he was T'Challa, who was a massive character in the comics. You can't just forget about him.
You can't just skip the passing of the Black Panther. Like, it's huge.
And so I was like, I would have been more annoyed if they didn't do anything with him than if they did do something with him and it was bad. From what they did with him, I felt like it was good. I liked the ending for what they did with that. I thought that was a nice way of doing it. Which we are in spoilers, so it's fine. Having a kid T'Challa, which is Boseman's T'Challa's son, which was really nice.
It is kind of funny that they're just going to be like, oh, so how are we going to handle the death of T'Challa? Like, don't worry, there's another one.
Well, like, but I think it's a thing that makes sense to me.
Yeah, no, I think so.
Because in my family, my dad's name is his dad's name.
Yeah, no, it's very common.
So it's not outrageous to just name.
No, it's a very common practice that a lot of sort of people do. A lot of families would have done forever, basically.
Yeah.
But no, I think that I'd have to sort of agree with your perspectives there. I think that having T'Challa, I guess, having a son named T'Challa, I think that's sort of like, I don't know, I suppose it could feel a bit heavy-handed for some people, but at the same time, it's like, I guess what else do you want us to do?
I think-
We have only so many
Yeah.
options.
My thing with it will be if they rush, like if they, because the stuff I've heard is there's been things where people are like, oh, they might do like time travel shit and have the kid child come in for. But I'm like, that will be when I think it's heavy-handed.
Yeah,
If they give time for it to like breathe and stuff, you don't even have to show. Like, I'm happy in the like before that T'Challa in theory is like 18, 20 or something. I'm happy for time travel to come in and shit for it. Just don't do it quickly. Allow Shuri to be Black Panther.
That's my main thing. I think that like we have a Black Panther right now, Shuri, and it would be like I can't see Ryan Coogler aging up T'Challa, like kid T'Challa that is. It would have to be like another director or a studio executive going, no, we need big Black Panther back. I'm like, can we not?
Studio's the one I think will do it. They'll go, because I think the way it will happen is they will go, they'll go a bit without it, and then if they see MCU's decline, they might go, okay, can you do older T'Challa, because it's probably one of the bigger characters we have left to do.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I guess that does come with its own sort of risk, because like if you do that, you're gonna have the issue of holy shit, brain, switch on, please, holy mother of God. You're gonna have the issue of like, I think you're gonna make a lot of people like fairly mad if they do that. Like, you're gonna have a lot of sort of fanboys as well going like, oh, this is awesome, you have Black Panther back, but I guess you're gonna have a lot of the other crowd going, this is really disrespectful, why did you do that? I think it's gonna be a very tricky situation when he does come into being Black Panther. But I think if they just take their time, let people adjust to it, and like, I want him to earn that spot of being Black Panther as well, because like, it's so soon after, and it's such a very drastic switch, and I think that's just sort of what death does, and this movie really does show that people died, the world keeps going, I guess is the big theme, and you have to like adjust to those situations, and it's such a huge such a huge adjustment people do have to make, and I think that in itself is just a very, I wouldn't even know what to say. That's just a very concerning thing concerning, sorry, the wrong word there, but like a major thing that you have to consider about that. And I think that I don't know, I'm struggling to think of the right words for this,
it's
but
going
like,
to be very much a scenario where when they do it, I think, rather than if they do it, because they've now introduced him. Unless the MCU dies, which I don't think it really ever will.
I don't know.
I think it will slow down, but I think it will be at the stage where they'll still have connections.
I get the feeling after like Secret Wars, we might get a soft reboot at the very least, if any, or at least we'll go like a couple years of like, okay, no more MCU stuff for like 5 years. Let's just relax.
Yeah, I could see a gap, but I don't think.
Like, I don't think it'll
still doing shit with it.
I don't think it'll stop until it becomes non-profitable. Yeah, until it's.
Yeah, that's good. So,
and that's not gonna happen for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think like there's a lot to consider, I guess, in that regard. But I guess that's sort of in regards to little T'Challa at the end of the film. We've kind of skipped over 2 hours and 40 minutes and the post-credit scene to get to that point. But I guess we were talking about.
But I think that's kind of will combine with Chadwick Boseman, T'Challa. I think the ending and the start, including post-credit, kind of go nicely together.
I saw another podcast asked this question before on their show, but do you get the feeling that Marvel kind of regrets killing off Killmonger? Because I kind of do, given that they like show.
In terms of what? Because I think, do they regret killing him off as the way the world's gone now, yes. I think only really because Boseman died, though, I think.
Yeah, I
I
think that's
think-
fair.
Because I think what ends up happening for them as creators is they've gone, okay, we can have Killmonger die because we've got
The spirit.
T'Challa,
Yeah.
we got the Spirit, we got T'Challa, we then also have Shuri. Like, you got enough characters there, but when you go, okay, we've killed Killmonger in our universe, Chadwick Boseman's died, so we now have to kill off T'Challa. You've just lost kind of the two bigger, I think, characters for the Black Panther mythos, which therefore I
Yeah.
think makes you, as a creator, go like, okay, maybe we shouldn't have done that. But it's always something like, retroactively, yes, you probably shouldn't have, but you didn't know this was going to happen.
Yeah, I
Time
think
to
that's fair.
remake.
I do think
I
that's fair.
remember there were discussions I remember hearing about on the podcast where they were like, what? Because back when there was things about no one knew who the next Black Panther were,
People were
there was-
talking about
an alternate universe Killmonger, which I didn't
Yeah.
mind.
I don't know if I'd
Because-
huge on that.
My thing is like, my general thing with it is like, you've done What If, so you've shown there multiple universes. You've already kind of left that open. You've also done multiple timelines. You've done time travel. It's like, you could get away with a few of them as long as you don't. As long as me personally, as long as you don't overhaul the main continuity with, let's bring in you from this universe, you and you and you, and it's still a universe just with a few extras. I'm fine with. I do think I prefer Shuri being Black Panther than Killmonger,
Yeah, I think that's
but
the thing.
I did like the Killmonger scene. So
Yeah, I think that's fair. See, the Killmonger scene, I think, brings an element from the comics, and I guess also from the movie that we've seen into it, that Shuri, being Black Panther, is a much more violent Black Panther.
Yeah.
Like, she has a lot of a darker side to her. She's more willing to go to those sort of like T'Challa's a king first and foremost, rather than a superhero. So he's always been willing to go to those extremes to be like, yeah, no, I'll get the job done. But even then, Shuri is much more of a sort of, I guess, no mercy aspect to things
yeah,
than T'Challa ever really did.
I think
and I
that's
think-
added to because of T'Challa's death as well. It
No,
really
yeah,
did
that's
feel
sort of
the
where I was
deaths-
going.
The deaths
Yeah.
formed her really nicely to being her own character.
Yeah,
to
like
being
I
her
think,
own Black Panther.
yeah, like that trauma she's experienced of having lost T'Challa, and pretty much being completely disillusioned in the spirit realm because of it, has just led her to be like, people die, and I'm gonna be the reason for that sometimes. I guess, just get out of the way, you know. I think that, like you were saying, I think T'Challa's death definitely would have informed that character progression from her. You know, I think it all shows that very well. I think I don't know. I think we've talked a lot about, I suppose, Shuri. I think we've kind of gone to the heart of her character. I guess I want to talk about Namor a lot. See, him. I don't know. I think I like, now that I have a character I can point to when people say, no, you just want things to be exactly like the comics, and I can go, no, I don't. I'd like things to be good, please. For
Yeah.
example, here's Namor. He's nothing like his comic character counterpart. Well, not nothing like, but like, he's very fucking different, and I loved him because holy shit, what a character! Like,
Yeah.
there weren't really points where I would say that I kind of agreed with him. I don't think that's sort of the point of, like, I don't think you're ever supposed to sit there and go, hey, no, I totally agree with your point of view, which I guess is sort of, in terms of, like, commentary, a bit weaker than the first film, where at least there were points where Killmonger sort of, like, had points. But then again, at the same time, Killmonger kind of switched from black people around the world had been oppressed, and then he kind of changed midway through to, like, I want to lead a global uprising and kill millions, you know, and start a race war. And that was kind of like, hang on a minute, I think you didn't cross the line. You just switched up your motivations. Yeah. But I guess this one, while the motivations are less agreeable, of like because it's like it's this fictional underwater kingdom, and it's like, yeah, they're polluting the ocean, so we're going to sort of kill every man, woman, and child on the surface. That kind of thing. I think it's less. It's sort of. It gives you more of like I understand rather than I agree kind of perspective, I suppose. And I think it really ties. I think Namor's whole arc really ties in well with the whole theme of I guess the political discourse going on in the film. Because I think in this film especially, there's a lot more of that idea of like I mentioned before, the Black Panther is dead, and what's Wakanda gonna do now? Where I think it's the film is very much less of a superhero affair for most of it, and more of like just a country trying to avert an international incident the entire time. Cause it's like Wakanda is trying to protect their natural resource from looters and shit, and then they have to contend with Namor trying to fuck shit up over there. I think it's just a I suppose. No, I think it's a lot more of a I would say political in quotes thing than I would have expected from the MCU, I suppose. But it's an interesting angle. I think it doesn't go sort of too far in regards to being like a one-for-one parallel for any sort of real-world conflict. I wouldn't say it's anything like deep or spectacular even, but I think it's just a very interesting. I guess like, here's the universe we've created. What are the consequences of this? I felt the MCU felt more like a real universe, I guess, in this one, because of the conflicts that were happening. Felt natural and felt real and felt like people were taking these major world events very seriously.
I think that's fair. I think this movie especially did a really good job of kind of expressing that this is a world. It's not. Cause I feel
it's not just Wakanda, yeah.
Yeah, a lot. I feel this might be wrong, but I never got the feeling from a lot of other MCU films that it's like, okay, there's a world outside of this. A lot of them kind of feel like this is the world as we're going through it.
No, I do. I get what you mean.
Although it feels like there's more world in this film than I think in a lot of others.
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, you feel like if this Wakanda stuff wasn't happening, the world would still exist and there'd be other shit going on. While in, say, I don't know, if Spider-Man didn't go to Europe, then there wouldn't be a Europe.
Yeah. It's very much like this is doing a really good job of expanding.
Yeah.
While also having a good story with it.
Yeah,
and I did like the character of Namor. His thing of, like, killing everyone because they're taking resources and everything. I was like, okay, sure. For me, it didn't interest me that much because I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. What else were you really going to do? I think for me, it's like a bad guy from an underwater city. The go-to plot will be, they are polluting the oceans. I'm gonna get revenge. That is I think, in my head, the basic plot you do for a villain from underwater. So, although they probably could be more creative with the plot, I think the plot works for what I feel like was an introduction to his character, especially with the fact that he lived, which is a rare occurrence for MCU villains.
Look, there's a bit at the end of that where, like, Shuri does the whole, she sets off her ship to explode behind Namor, who's been, like, severely dehydrated and, like, stabbed and shit, and had one of his wings cut off, and she was like, Wakanda forever, and then the ship explodes, and I thought, fuck, they're not gonna kill off Namor. Come on,
I really liked
surely
the fact
not.
that she didn't kill him off. I think
Yes.
if she killed him off, she would have been a lot more like Killmonger
Yeah.
and T'Challa. So I think it was really nice to see her be more towards
didn't-
T'Challa than Killmonger for me.
I was watching this film, and I really was thinking the whole time, her arc is very similar to T'Challa's in Civil War when he first appeared. You know, when he has the whole... He wants revenge against Bucky because he thinks Bucky killed his dad, but
Yeah.
at the same time, yeah, they find out later on, obviously, that's not the case, and once he finds out it was Zemo, he's about to kill him, but, like, Rez last like, no, I can't let vengeance consume me and, you know, ruin my life and chance for happiness. I have to... You're beaten. You know, I won. I have to move on. It's fine. And I think they did something very similar with Shuri, and I think that kind of works. Like, I think on the one hand, I don't know if it was intentional, but if not, I think it's very cool they did that. 'Cause it's like, you know, it's one more thing that kind of brings them closer and connects the two characters. And it's not. It's
probably
nice.
was a bit of intention. I don't think it was a hard intention, but I think it was planned with the idea. Let's have her closer to
No,
T'Challa by doing
I have to
this.
imagine somebody must have mentioned it, like during the writing process.
Probably.
That's been like, hey, this is really similar to this, and so I was like, oh, cool, you know.
Yeah.
Sorry, but no,
That's
I think
probably a good way of saying how they went about it. They're like, oh, cool. Well, let's keep it then.
yeah, no, I thought that was really well done. I really liked that. Like, I can see people being potentially kind of frustrated by that idea, but I think personally, that was one of my favorite things about. I think Wakanda Forever, despite T'Challa's death at the start, is still about T'Challa and the character's connections and relationship with T'Challa and how they continue on after his passing. And I think that idea is one of the more powerful aspects of the film overall. I don't know. I guess just for a couple more general thoughts, I really liked the action. A bit near the end, some of the CGI gets a little bit wonky, but I think it was better than the first film for sure, and it's better than most MCU projects coming out. Like, every aspect of this film feels like a lot of care and time was put in. So even with the CGI crunch, like, I feel like there wasn't too much CGI, and what was used was done really well for the most part until because near the end, MCU fights are all pre-vised, so like that's like, okay, we have to write the film around this big action scene. Fine, how do we get there? I guess so that's never gonna look as good as the rest of the film, but the rest of the film did look really good, I think.
The CGI for me, I'm not a big graphics guy in anything really, but I think for me, I didn't notice any CGI problems, and I think that probably has to do with my engagement with the story and the characters. The CGI
that's fair. Took a backseat.
I think when you're watching movies or you're playing games or doing anything really, if you're invested in characters and people,
You can look past the
story.
visuals.
The visuals aren't as big as the story for a lot of people, and I think I'm one of those, like, it's a big thing with a lot of stuff. It's like, if the narrative is really good and the characters are well thought out and everything feels very nice, the visuals aren't the front runner. But if this was a very bad story, bad characters, then the visuals would be... Because I don't think I've heard many people talk about bad visuals. Being a lot of, like, good things for the movie.
Yeah, I think it's just because the story itself... I think the thing is, like, there's two aspects to it. One, the sort of story... Well, I'd say three aspects, actually. The story itself is strong enough that you're not really focusing on the visuals. Two, there's not as many digital effects in this. A lot of it is more practical or, like, lower key, because it's all sort of, like, very ground level kind of stuff. And I think the main thing is that they just, like I mentioned, it looks like there's just more time and care put into it. Like, I feel like it just looks generally better. I suppose I don't want to make it seem like I dislike the film, but I think it's sort of important to mention. I guess there are some like sort of downfalls I would mention. Like, I I know you mentioned you didn't really notice how long it was. Me, I did, and I think a lot of that is just because there's a lot of scenes and a lot of parts where it does sort of feel like it drags. I think I mentioned at the top, but for me, this film really feels like um, an alright film with some really great scenes, and then a lot of stuff you can cut out. Like, I haven't touched on him at all, but there's a whole subplot with Ross,
Yeah.
that American agent from the CIA. Um, him and like
I feel like that's kind
that
of.
and the purple haired lady. Just cut all of that.
See, I
like.
as a solo movie, yes, but I believe the Purple Girl is kind of doing the like Thunderbolts.
Yeah, no, I
thing,
know.
so
I know they're setting up Thunderbolts, but at the same time, like the way that it's
like-
integrated into film feels so forced. Like,
yeah,
it's the perfect time because like the Ross is from the CIA. He's connected to the Black Panther series, and like she's also working with the government agency to establish all this stuff and get all these characters and materials and whatever. But at the same time, like I don't know, if you're gonna have to include her, fine, but I'd feel like obviously this was part of the film that the writers were just not at all, or at least not as
Yeah.
passionate about, and that's where I'm like, yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Like
I think a lot of my
like
stuff
what-
with those parts were like the scenes to me never felt like they went too long,
yeah,
and
think
I
that's-
always felt like it was like, okay, this will be like a few minutes, and then we'll get back to the good shit.
and then it was a
So-
few minutes later, and then it's still going. I guess that's how I felt about it. But no, I get what you mean. Where it's like, if I just make it through this, we'll get back to the Wakanda stuff, and I'll be enjoying myself. But I
Yeah.
think even those bits, because like, it's just like they don't really add anything. I think what's good about it is that, like you said, they don't necessarily like detract that much. Like you could kind of skip those parts of the film and just be like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
I get what's up.
If you have it on DVD or on streaming, you can just fast forward through it. You won't miss much.
Like you might be a bit confused, but you can get it through context clues, honestly.
Yeah.
And like nothing really comes of it, except at the end he gets broken out of the back of a truck,
Yeah.
and like, cause it feels like they forget about him for a while, cause he gets
Yeah.
arrested, and then there's like
And then
like
the
an
movie
out,
continues for a
then
bit.
there's like 40 minutes at least of film, and then there's like, oh shit, Ross, fuck, we gotta go get him.
Yeah. I think
yeah,
the
no.
big thing for me with Ross as well is because I didn't watch the first Black Panther. I didn't know when they were like, "Oh, let's go for my favorite American." I was like, "Bucky," because I was in my head like, "What other Americans have any like alignment with it?" Because the only person I could think of was Bucky because he was in Wakanda with T'Challa. Like, okay, sure, show me Bucky.
I am
And
glad.
the
I am
forest, I'm
glad
like,
as well. I feel like the films that what was I saying? I feel as though, I guess, I like that the film sort of stuck to the whole Wakanda side of things. Like I
Yeah.
think it would have been very easy to include even somebody like Bucky, or like have like a Captain America appearance or something like that. But I'm glad they just kind of went, yeah, no, let's just let's keep things to how they are. I like that.
Yeah.
I
I'm
enjoy-
happy they didn't bring in Bucky. Like, as the movie was going, I was like, okay, I'm happy they didn't bring Bucky in. They didn't bring any other like major characters in.
Yeah,
Ross never gave me the vibe of being a major character, very much like a sub character to me.
yeah.
So I was like, okay, sure. But yeah, I think you have anything else to say about Ross?
About Ross, look, not particularly. I think that just I don't know. I suppose that's all I really wanted to mention. That I think there's like those bits
Yeah.
like I drag on, but I think there's also like I don't know some
I
bits
think
with
that's fair.
some bits with I think they made Riri better than her comic book counterpart, who's not great. Like,
Yeah.
she's not an amazing character in the comics. In the movie, I think she's a lot better. Sort of distancing her from Iron Man, I thought was actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
It was risky, but I think it paid off. but I just think that in general, it's like, I don't know. Even with her improved like scenes, I'm like, I guess it's cool you're here, but
Yeah, I think I'm similar. It's like to me, I'm like, I don't know her from the comics. I'm her kind of character. To me, I was like, yeah, okay, you're here, go
Yeah,
for
right.
it. I wasn't. I didn't think the character to me like jumped off the screen and was like, okay, this is gonna be a good and big character for MCU. To me, I was like, okay, it's
yeah,
like middling kind of character to me. It was like, okay, she'll probably be in every now and then, be a decent part of it, and that'll probably be it.
yeah.
Which,
It's
sure.
I think that's pretty
Yeah.
much the gist of like that character. I think I like that Okoye had more to do in this one.
Yep.
I don't know. I feel like I would have liked to see a bit more of her um, in this film. I suppose.
I kind
I
of.
don't know. I've heard people say you could cut out the Telecan stuff, like seeing the actual kingdom, but I don't really know about that because I actually,
like it.
yeah, that was like one of my favorite parts of it. To be honest, I think I've really enjoyed seeing that underwater city and seeing that
It also builds the connection between the characters, which I think makes
yeah.
the fight more impactful.
Oh, and also, fun fact, and I'm so glad they cut this, but they were actually thinking of doing like apparently they're thinking of doing a romance subplot between Namor and Shuri.
Sure.
And
I
like
had a feeling. I felt that's where they were going, honestly.
and
I was
thank
like, okay.
I'm glad they didn't because for one thing Shuri looks like she's like 18, 20, and Namor is like
Namor is
thousands
century. Oh yeah,
centuries.
thousands. That's right.
So
he's-
fuck. It's
He's
very
he's
old.
An old fuck.
Very old.
Yeah.
And even then, like it's like, and I don't know. I feel like the age difference, even if like we're going off the actor's age, it's like, I don't know. It gives me some red flag vibes, and I just feel like it would have felt very shoehorned. Like why are we doing this?
I think that's a good. The relationship would have been a shoehorn, and I also feel like the fight at the end would not been as impactful if they had a sexual relationship.
Yeah, it
I
just
think
wouldn't be
having-
interesting. Like as
Having
interesting
kind
as it
of
was.
the fact that they are more like acquaintances with knowledge about each other made for me the fight more impactful.
I think a mutual respect is probably what they went for, and the best way
Yes.
to do things. Like, you're a leader of a sovereign nation. I'm a leader of a sovereign nation. We could help each other, or we could go to war or whatever. And I think, especially given their relationship in the comics, it would be very weird for the Black Panther and Namor
Yeah.
to be dating. I want Namor to
through it.
stay an anti-hero, though. I have a feeling they're either going to redeem him or they're going to like make him a full villain. And I feel like I don't know. I think like that it seems like they're kind of setting up Namora to be the more antagonistic of the two, which I'm not huge on. I don't like the trope of being like, oh no, I was being manipulated. Oh no, someone from my group. And it's like a retcon of like someone close to the person they think it is was the one doing all the bad stuff. Where it's like, no, just can we have some complex characters, please? Like, let us like root for people who do bad things sometimes, or grapple with the consequences of like grey morality.
I feel like the interesting thing will be I can't remember if they did this in the movie but not. Do they call Namor a mutant at all? I feel like they do.
He does. He calls himself.
Yeah. I feel like that will lean himself towards probably either being a villain for mutants, which I think is unlikely, or being one of the kind of head mutant heroes. I feel. So I feel like he's leaning from my conscious. I feel like he might be leaning to more redeemed.
I think the thing with Namor is that, despite being a mutant, he's not really big on the mutant side of things. Like he was the second introduced character ever in Marvel, like in comics history.
Yeah.
So he predates like Aquaman. And even Captain America. So, but like his story is more tied to like the World War II era heroes like Captain America and the original Human Torch, and also to people like the Fantastic Four, who are like Marvel's first family, because of course he is. So I think he'll probably be more of an antagonist, like a villain to the Fantastic. I think they'll probably do more of a Loki route, where he's like the villain of like
I
one
could see
movie. He's like the villain of the Black Panther film. He'll be like a villainous character who like falls in love with Sue Storm or something. It'd be interesting. And then eventually he like you know helps out. He helps out the heroes when when the whole world's at stake. Like I think the thing with Namor is that he's most interesting because his heroism and his villainy entirely depends on, I guess, on his allegiances and on sort of like whether it will benefit Atlantis or Talakan or not. So he's more like who if I okay.
I hope they go more towards that, where he's like, I will be on whatever side benefits my country. Or, my country.
That's what's most interesting about like characters like Doctor Doom as well, who's like obviously more often a villain, but like, they're very, but even still, he's kind of like, well, I like my people, they're pretty cool too, so I want to be like, that's my priority kind of thing.
I think if they keep him being more for his people, he'll be an anti-hero.
Yeah,
but to me, it felt, because they mentioned mutant, it's kind of like a weird one to say mutant.
Yeah, I think
if
Marvel
going to push him towards that more.
So I suppose wherever they go with Namor, I just want them to keep that complexity, because that's what makes him one of the most interesting characters in comics. There's a reason he's still around after, since 1940. He's an important dude. Yeah. He's a cool fucking guy.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. It's very much, hopefully Marvel don't fuck up the character. Like the better term, the character is in a spot where, as long as they don't butcher the base character they've got now and just grow that character instead of like bringing stuff back and growing to some ways and bringing other stuff away, hopefully it becomes a big, or maybe not even big, but just a good part, a decent part of the MCU world.
Yeah.
And that might be like him coming into separate films, separate stories, maybe eventually having his own film if that's where they want to go, but having him as kind of a decent presence, especially where he's the only underwater. He comes from the only underwater place in Marvel, very similar to like Aquaman. So it's like he kind of will play a massive part, I think, or should play a massive part in the world.
Yeah.
Being the only ocean-based person, so you kind of have to have him as a big part. So hopefully he does keep the complexity, so he doesn't become a character which is like popped up and everyone's like, okay, it's bad name, or it's like not complex name and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Anyway, I think I think it's sort of, I guess, time to wrap things up and talk a bit about the box office growth for Black Panther. It's a little bit iffy just because I don't have some numbers up right now, but it's a bit iffy just because Black Panther is still in cinemas, so we don't have all that information. I guess as to how much it will make overall, but I'll also do what my best, I guess, give the best I can give right now. I will tell you it is doing a lot better than Black Adam is. So on a budget
Who would have thought?
So on an advised budget of approximately $250 million, it has made,
Big money.
judging from this source I just had up, here, let me just duplicate this tab because I had it up before, so you have to bear with me.
How long has it been out exactly? A week?
About 2 or 3 weeks, yeah. Almost a month. No, not even close to a month. No, actually, almost a month.
What? Don't tell me the year. Tell me the actual date. It's so dumb.
Okay.
When did it? Let me have a look. It came out.
Okay, so according to CNN,
It came out nearly a month ago.
okay, so according
Release
to
date the 10th of November.
oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. So according to CNN.com, I don't know how reliable they are, but this is a number I have so far. So it says that they have grossed $333 million, and that was again on a $250 million US dollar budget. So that is, you do the math, Connor, you're better at that.
What was it? 360 or 346?
330 million.
30.
Yep.
At 250, it's 80.
Okay, so it's made $80 million profit so far. That's pretty good. I don't know if it's broken even yet, since, as mentioned, you've got to sort of double your budget generally to make your money back. But again, it's only been out for like about a month. This is still, we're still just coming out of a pandemic. There's been a lot of controversy surrounding the film. I guess we mentioned Letitia Wright, had some concerns with some vaccine issues before the movie came out. But even still, look, it's doing pretty well so far for what it is. If I can just have a look at something. Oh, actually, $250 million was also the same budget as Thor: Love and Thunder, which I think we can all agree it looks so much better than Thor:
Yeah.
Love and Thunder. Holy crap! And let's see. Thor Love and box office. Okay, Thor made about $761 million. Granted, that is after Ragnarok's success. Thor's already sort of a bigger character in the universe. I'm hoping that Black Panther surpasses that. I really am, because one of these films deserves to stay where it is. One of these does not. I'm sorry, Chris Hemsworth. You're great. Everyone in it is great. It's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah.
But it's fine. It's fine. I'm not salty. I'm great. I'm doing amazing. How are you doing, Connor? Are you doing well? Having fun?
Yes.
But no, look, as mentioned, so like it's getting very close to sort of doubling its budget. So I reckon, give it as that's supposed to be given like a couple weeks or so, it'll probably beat that target. People are still going out to see it. People are loving it. I think, from what I can see at least. Look at the Rotten Tomatoes scores, which I do want to advise as well. What Rotten Tomatoes isn't sort of the end all be all. It's not actually giving out an actual score. What Rotten Tomatoes is just an accumulation of scores all over the internet. So it's like, so when it says a score a movie has 100%, that means everybody in the world gave it a rating of either okay to the best movie ever made. But, a 0% movie could be like, not for me. Everything from not for me to worst movie ever made. So I guess you have to sort of take it with a grain of salt. In saying that, it's got 84%. Yeah, 84% Rotten Tomatoes score, 94% audience score. Audience being probably the more accurate one, I suppose. Just because it's like less scattered across the internet. It's more, less of just different reviews and more, if you get what I mean.
It's more concise.
Pretty much.
I think it was I think the 84%, 92% stuff, I think that's probably fair.
I think
just
that's
at a
fair.
glance, start looking into it. I really enjoyed it. I felt like it's a really good movie.
Yeah. I think I didn't really like the first Black Panther when it first came out. I've since grown to like it a lot more than I used to. I'd probably give that first Black Panther film nowadays like it's pretty up there, honestly. I'd give it like an 8 or so. Wakanda Forever. Look, I've gushed about it a lot, but I think there are a lot of. I don't think it is as good as the first one. I think there are parts that surpass it, but a lot of parts that make me go, like, I don't know about that. But I think if I had to give it another score, I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10. I think that's
fair.
probably fair on my end. I suppose, but I guess in the end, I suppose I think there was just a lot of barriers it had to overcome. That I think it all did. Like, I don't think it really missed the mark on anything that I can sort of think of. But in saying that, I think this is about time we can sort of wrap up today's recording part of the stream. Yeah. I think if you guys enjoyed, if you're watching on YouTube, should you like, share, and subscribe. Comment your thoughts down below. Tell us what you'd like us to cover next. Be sure to subscribe to Click on YouTube and follow Click Live on Twitch. I'll put the YouTube link here and the other one here. Okay, YouTube here.
Somewhere in the corner.
YouTube here, Twitch here. There. Bang.
Kind of looks like you're pointing at the same spot.
Bang, 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 bang. How about you suck my nuts? On my screen, it's different.
That's fine.
Bang, 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 bang. Okay.
Bang, bang,
Here
bang,
and here.
bang, bang.
Here and here. Fuck me. Look, we'll make it work. Yeah, no, once we've got some more movies coming out and once we've got some more shit to talk about, we will be back next year. Probably as soon as maybe we're thinking January, probably late January. We'll get one of these out. That sounds good for Connor. But otherwise, we'll get to the Q&A section and.